We just got a placement yesterday. I mean, it's a lot of like reality TV.
Yeah.
But we got a placement in Teen Mom. We were on the Kardashians a couple weeks ago. We were in Love is Blind. Real World Atlanta was my first sync. So it was a while ago that I got into it. And then I signed with Lyric House 2 years ago.
I want to talk about the book first.
For my mom, she passed away and it was dedicated to her. And I started writing poetry again just for fun, just kind of as a self-expression. It was like a year after her death. And I was like, you know what, I really want to get this out for other people and share it. And I was starting to put the remedies that she actually taught me. She was a homeopath. So it was a way I was like putting the remedies that she taught me about different emotions attached to the poem. So each chapter has a remedy attached to it for each emotion. And I kind of wrote it, for like people like you or anyone else who's also lost someone.
You know, I've heard people talk about publishing a book or they want to write a book, but in terms of actually doing it, actually getting it done, I don't know a lot of people that have done it. So I definitely want to talk about the process and how you kind of did all that. This is They're Good at That Shit, where I talk to musicians about what they're doing well. My guest today, she started a really awesome singer-songwriter showcase on the west side of Los Angeles called Saturdays at 7. Even took it over to New York. She also published a book, released it to Amazon as well as TikTok Shop and in Barnes & Noble as well. Anni, what's going on?
Hi.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining me. You doing all right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
All right, so I want to talk about the book first.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something that not a lot of people have done, at least in terms of like artists that I know. You know, I've heard people talk about publishing a book or they want to write a book, but in terms of actually doing it, actually getting it done, I don't know a lot of people that have done it. And I imagine, or I know that it's one of those things that may seem really daunting if you haven't done it. So I definitely want to talk about the process and how you kind of did all that. But first of all, what actually inspired you to write that?
Yeah, so basically I kind of, before I even got into music, I was writing poetry since I was about 5 or 6. It was like my favorite thing to do when I was a kid.
Okay.
There's actually like somewhere in my house a Hello Kitty notepad that I wrote my first ever poem on. So it was just like kind of part of me. And then I guess like music kind of came after that actually. And then it was around college. I was living in New York and I started writing poetry again just for fun, just kind of as a self-expression. And I realized how much I really missed it. And I was like, you know what, let's try and write a book just for fun. And it started as just a way for me to like have a project on the side that wasn't music, that was just kind of like an outlet. And then 6 years later, I was like, let's actually publish it. So it kind of came about that way. But it was an inspiration for my mom. She passed away and it was dedicated to her. And then also just for myself to kind of get back to my roots, I guess. So, yeah.
You know what? My dad passed away from cancer in 2023.
I'm so sorry.
So so I understand.
Yeah, mine was cancer too. Yeah, in 2022 or 21. Wow. So
wow,
around the same time.
Do you find that actually getting back to the writing and like having that project to focus on kind of helped you get through that? Because you know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was basically, she's also a musician, very talented, and I was just kind of telling her, you know, like, man, you need to like put out more music because people need to hear you and blah blah blah. And she was just kind of saying she's, you know, been going through some things, and she said once I get out of this depression, then I can start focusing again. But at least for me, I found it was kind of the other way around. Once I found something to focus on, it kind of helped pull me out of the funk that I was in after my dad's death. But did you find that too?
I did. I think the writing really helped because I feel like that's almost my way of processing my thoughts is whenever I'm going through something, I'll write it down. Journaling or poetry or songwriting, it's like one of the three. And so for me, I was writing already so much. I think I was writing maybe like 2 journal entries a day just to get things out. And then I was writing songs, I was writing poetry, and it just really like helped me process what was going on. And she loved all my writing. So it kind of felt like I was still connected with her in a way. And she always told me, she's like, poetry is where like your talent, like I love your poetry the most. And I mean, she loved my music too, but I think that was me being like, wait, I really should tap into that more again. Cause I kind of neglected it for a little bit. So it felt like I was kind of still with her in a way. So yeah.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. That it made you feel like you were still with her and still connected. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I kind of wrote it, for like people like you or anyone else who's also lost someone, because I feel like you kind of feel so alone in that moment, and so it was a way for me to be like, okay, let's all feel this together in a way and write out our feelings. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of the process of actually getting it published. So what made you kind of decide that you know what, I want to put this out,
Yeah. It was definitely a back and forth for a while, because it is very vulnerable to like publish a book of poems, and like there was a lot of vulnerable ones in there that I was like, do I want this out for the world? And I decided I wanted to publish it probably like 2 years before it came out.
Okay.
I realized it was like a year after her death, and I was like, you know what, I really want to get this out for other people and share it. And I was starting to put the remedies that she actually taught me. She was a homeopath. So it was a way I was like putting the remedies that she taught me about different emotions attached to the poem. So each chapter has a remedy attached to it for each emotion. Wow. So it's like a home remedy of like herbs or oils or things to help you with those emotions. And so once I started doing that, I was like, oh, this is forming into a book. I was like, maybe I should publish it. Okay. So I reached out to a couple friends who've published books, and everyone said to do Barnes & Noble self-publishing. Okay. And then I went that route. And then I also went... Ingram Sparks has another publishing. So I did both of those, because you kind of have to tackle two markets when you're publishing. Okay. And yeah.
So when you said Barnes & Noble self-publishing, let's talk about that for a second. Is that like a website you can go to and just fill out a form? And
it kind of is. It's not as difficult once you get, like, the biggest part was the formatting. And I luckily had an illustrator who was helping me on it, Nina, and she was incredible. And so she actually did most of the formatting too, which was a lifesaver to me. But it's more so getting the book fully together. So like formatting all that, and then you basically submit it to their website. Okay. And then it gets approved within like 2 weeks usually. They do have to approve it, and then you're good to go. And then it's up within like a month, I would say. Takes a little bit. You have to pick. It's kind of like, honestly, like releasing a song. Like you submit it to like a distributor, and then they get it up within a month. And
okay, that's cool to kind of have that curtain peeled back, because, like I said, I feel like not a lot of people really know, about that process.
I had no idea. Yeah, I was it was a learning curve for sure. Because then I realized like that was just to Barnes & Noble. So then if you want other bookstores, it's like you got to figure out that route and all that, which was fun. But it was kind of fun to like learn a new way of releasing.
Yeah. So what was that? So talk more about that route for other avenues of releasing.
That one is basically what I did was I went through Ingram Sparks so that it was available to other bookstores, because that's more of a general publishing house. So they'll basically keep your book on backlog. So bookstores can order it whenever they would like, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. And so what I was doing was every week I would pick a day during the week, and I'd just go to like 5 or 6 bookstores in the area, and I would go in and I'd be like, hey, who's your sales rep here? Can I give them a book to read? And if they'd like it, can they distribute it here? And that's kind of how you have to do it. It's like word of mouth. You got to like kind of put in the hours. A lot of emails too. So like I have a book now, or one of my books, or my book is in Michigan now randomly. Wow. So that was through emails. So like you kind of just have to like figure out the bookstores that would be a good fit for your book, and then either email them or just drive there and ask them firsthand. Wow. So yeah. And then they order it through Ingram, if that makes sense. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to individual bookstores and you're saying, hey, I have this book.
Yeah.
You should check it out, or whoever usually orders books for your store should check it out.
Exactly, yeah.
And then so you have them check out the book, and then kind of go from there. And then they tell
you, exactly, like yes or no, or maybe one day. Gotten that one a couple times.
How many bookstores would you say you personally went to?
I've probably gone to like 25, 30.
Okay. So you went to like 25, 30, and then how many others would you say that you kind of reached out to through email or whatever?
Probably 30 as well, I would say.
Okay.
I'm about to do another round of it soon, because I kind of took a break, and I'm now going to I like pick an area to tackle. So like I was thinking of tackling Santa Barbara next, or Ojai or something like that.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of cool bookstores, and so it's just kind of you have to like pick the area that you want to go to next. So,
sure. Yeah, I could honestly see something like that being really good in like a place like Ojai, because I've been to Ojai before, and it like kind of has a vibe to where I feel
it does,
the way you describe the book and just the vibe I get when I go to Ojai, I feel like it's a match. I mean, this is my total non-expert
no, that's kind of
opinion.
why I was like, oh, it makes sense, to go there. So I get it,
but that's totally cool. But I mean, I think one thing I also wanted to point out is that, I mean, I think it shows like the dedication and the work that it takes to kind of get it, get it
going.
Reaching out to all these different bookstores and things like that.
Thanks. It's fun.
But it's cool.
But
So then what was the process of getting it on Amazon? Was that a different thing?
Yeah. That's actually also through Ingram, which was great.
Okay.
So they distributed it, but also Amazon has their own. So if anyone's doing publishing for themselves, they also have an Amazon publishing as well.
Got it.
So there's like 3 that you can even hit if you wanted. But I went through Ingram, but you can just go straight through Amazon, which is also super easy.
Got it.
And it's the same thing again, just submit the online copy, the format, they'll approve it, and then you're good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what about also TikTok Shop, because that's like a kind of a relatively newer thing. And so I'm curious about that and how you did that, and then also what have you found? Has it have you gotten any sales from it or what?
Yeah, that one's a new beast that I just tackled last week, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm waiting to see about that one.
Okay.
But I just got approved, so it's now officially on TikTok Shop. It's now just figuring out the marketing of that, because I know that it's a great platform to do it on, to be honest, because like it's straight to the seller. You can advertise a lot easier. So I am trying to tackle it. So we'll see. I'll update you.
Yeah. No. Okay. Cool.
But the TikTok Shop is pretty easy though. You just go through, I think it's like TikTokshop.com or something, and then you upload a profile, and it was cool.
I've done a little bit of looking into TikTok Shop as well.
Yeah.
And both as a creator and a seller, and and I know that you can also work with creators, and I've heard from people who have had success from working with creators and having creators kind of push their products in their content. And so that's a cool option with TikTok.
It is very cool. They have a great platform, I think, for small businesses to like actually really grow their brand, which is cool. So I'm looking into it actually this week to see how I can start doing that. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Any other like big, I guess, lessons or takeaways that you've kind of picked up from this whole book process and journey for anybody who may be thinking of starting a book, publishing a book, or writing one?
I would say just go for it. You never know until you try. I think the industry it's not as daunting as you think. Obviously, like selling the books is daunting because that's the scary part, but getting the book out, I think it's really cool to say that, hey, I can do it myself. I can self-publish. So there's no harm in doing it. And I think just go for it if you want to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, like definitely just starting something.
Just starting. Like
goes
just do
a
it
long
and
way.
then see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that, because I love that also that you said that, you kind of didn't know yourself what the process was. Yeah. But you're like, you know what? I probably know somebody who does, and you reached out to those people and figured it out. And I think sometimes we let not knowing how to do something stop us from even starting.
Yeah.
But there's always a way to get started. There's always resources out there.
100%. Yeah.
Whether it be YouTube videos, whether it be podcasts, whether it be people that you personally know who may have done the thing that you're thinking about doing, there's always resources out there. And it's not going to be perfect too. I think a lot of times we wait for like, okay, I'm going to wait until this is perfect
time.
Or the perfect time, or until I know a lot about it. But like a lot of times that doesn't come until you start. It's like you learn the thing until you start actually trying to do it.
You got to just like take the bull by its horns, as they say, and just try it. And chances are you will know somebody who does know how to do it. I feel like the world is so weirdly connected in that way. And through this, I met so many people who randomly I didn't even know had published books. And I was like, oh, so cool. And they taught me, and like you meet people, and it's just all about putting yourself out there, and things will fall into place, I think. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's talk about Saturdays at 7.
Yeah.
Very cool singer-songwriter showcase.
Thank you.
I've had the opportunity to go myself.
Yes.
And it was great. So what kind of led to you starting that up?
Yeah, I started it in my backyard it's been over 7 years ago now.
Wow.
And I had moved into this place straight out of New York. And I remember being like, I really want community out here. I was also 20 at the time. So another reason for it was I was like, I can't even go to some of these venues. It's like, I'm too young. I can't get in.
Right.
Now but I really wanted a place that wasn't pay to play, that was open to all artists, that was just a community space for artists to come and play. And I realized like there's such a huge community out there of artists in LA. And I felt like I was on the west side and there wasn't as much going on over there. It was all on the east side and driving. And I wanted a place just for artists to come and feel like it was a safe space to really like share their art and also like new songs and have a audience that actually really wants to listen. And so it turned into that pretty quickly, which was really cool. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely has that, that community vibe.
Thanks,
when I went. So yeah, definitely. I feel like you for sure achieved that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you also have gotten sponsors for Saturdays at 7. And I think that's another one of those things that for people that might be planning on doing an event, that's kind of a daunting thing,
Oh, it 100% is. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still daunted by it some of the time. But it's cool because like I think Venice especially has this really special thing about it where there's so many small brands popping up, especially on the west side and in Venice, and so many cool local events going on or local brands or beverages. And so initially I really wanted to tap into that to really just like support the Venice community, which was really cool. And that's kind of how we tackled the sponsors and getting drinks to the venues and stuff. And so like Juneshine has been the biggest help to us since we started. Honestly, they've been around, I think since the 6th year. So they've been around almost since the start. And so stuff like that is really special to kind of create those connections with people and then have that continue on and you guys grow together. So, yeah.
How did that relationship with Juneshine specifically start?
Yeah, I think that one started an artist actually brought them once. Her name's Emily Brimlow. She's amazing. Mm-hmm. And she works with Juneshine anyways. And so she's like, oh, Juneshine wants to come through. Can they bring some drinks? And I was like, of course, I love Juneshine. And then it just kind of grew from there. And then I think they started bringing them. And then one day, a friend of mine who works for Juneshine, he looked at me and he was like, the yard had maybe 120 people in it. And he looked at me and he's like, you need a bigger space. And I was like, I know. And then I was like, there's too many people. And he basically was like, come to the Juneshine store or the Juneshine bar on Main Street in Santa Monica. And since then we've done a residency there once a month. So yeah.
Awesome.
It's nice. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And how often are you doing, because you do Saturdays at 7 more than once a month, don't you? Yeah. How often are you doing it now?
We were doing it every weekend.
Oh, wow.
Depends on the season and our schedules, to be honest.
Okay.
I wish I had more of it's every other Saturday
I got you.
But it's really just about like what venues are available at what times and like who wants to partner. And it's kind of just, more about that. We were doing it every weekend last month. And then this month we're taking a little lull. And then we're going to have it almost every weekend again in June and July. So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to this sponsors thing, if you're looking to kind of reach out to, somebody new to kind of get involved, do you have like a process? Do you have like an email template that you use or?
Yeah. It's basically, we have a pitch deck actually that we've been working on and we got it done recently. And it's really just about showcasing the brand, I think, and showing like what I've learned at least recently is like showing what's unique about you and what you have to offer over other brands. And that's kind of the biggest way to get sponsors, to showcase like how you guys can also grow together and like why it would benefit them, because everyone wants, everyone wants a sponsor, but it's like, why would that sponsor fit well with your event? I think is more important than just getting a random sponsor.
Right.
It's really about really making sure it aligns with each other's values and all that. So yeah, we have a pitch deck, and then I usually write each email by hand because I think it's more important to kind of connect with the brand and say like, hey, I like this about your brand and like why I think it does work with us. So I usually do that. I mean, obviously there's some similarities when I send out an email, but usually it's handwritten. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah. But the pitch deck's the same. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that you take the time to kind of handwrite those emails and give it that personal touch. And also, giving genuine, compliments like, hey, I like this or like that. I feel like is a kind of a great way to go about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like I was actually thinking about this not too long ago, and I'm in the process of like kind of doing some content around like getting people out to shows and like how I go about doing that. And one of the things is, sending out, because I usually text people individually and say, hey, Anni, I got a show coming. I would love for you to be there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that personal touch, as opposed to like just like sending out a blast text or you know what I mean?
Simpletexting.com blast.
Right.
Yeah.
I tend to personally text people individually, which is more work. Yes.
It's more work.
But I feel like I get better results doing that.
I think it pays off to really like connect with people more. I think, it might take longer, but the outcome I think is a little bit more special because then you're really creating those connections with people and really like showing that you do care and you actually like their brand and you've done the research. I think it goes for like even like any job interview or anything. Like you want to like understand who you're talking to, which is helpful. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I love a good email marketing campaign or a good texting campaign when it needs to be done. But
And do you personally, and you have a Saturdays at 7 like email list?
Yeah. That's why I was like,
well?
I do that one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like how, like what, I guess what are some tips, I guess, for like building a email list and like how have you gone about like growing that? To have that, have those people there to send the emails to.
I think for us, it was basically just when you buy a ticket, you give your email, to be honest. And it's kind of slowly grown over the years. We did occasionally do like a book at the shows where it's like, fill out your email if you'd like to join our email list. We've done that a couple times. Whenever we do lyric nights, we also do a little book around the room after the lyric night and be like, give us your info if you're interested. So it's really just like about asking when you can. And then also just collecting those emails. Like, honestly, I think having the data is the most important thing and showing your email list, basically being like, hey, we have this many. And it's really helpful when you're looking at brands or other sponsors to be like, hey, I have this data behind my event. So I think for us, it's just about collecting that data and showing like the numbers over anything else. And then having that email list is great because then we only really use it for like advertising the shows, like the next one, or be like, hey, we have a show coming up. You've bought a ticket before, so would you be interested in again? So it's more like that type of thing. But our ticketing platform's great because they actually do collect the emails for us and just put it into a database, which is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome because then, if somebody bought a ticket, chances are they'll be interested in coming to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So then it just kind of like builds up and then you kind of just have it there.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that you said that, if you're interested in, if you're trying to pitch to somebody like a sponsor, then you have that. If you've been building your email list, then you can say, hey, we got this many people
X amount.
that, we can reach out to. So we have this type of reach.
Yeah. It's good with numbers. Exactly. It's really good to show your numbers like on social media, your email list, your texting list, the numbers for all of it, just to be like, hey, this is how much we've accumulated and this is our reach, hopefully, for each show. You never know. But so.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you even had the opportunity to take it to New York as well?
Yeah. We just did our first one last month or then a month before, which was really exciting. So, yeah.
How did that all come about?
That was a dream of mine for a while. I've been wanting to do New York since I actually lived in New York. I was like, I eventually want to bring it back to New York. So it was really bittersweet to finally do it. But we did it with Aviator Nation. I'm actually wearing their sweatshirt right now. So they're a big partner of ours as well. So we do shows with them in Dreamland in Malibu a lot. And then they opened up a store in Soho in New York. And I was like, that'd be a perfect fit to just go on over to New York. And they were very down. And it honestly came together so seamlessly, so smoothly. We now have a team in New York who can run it for us, which is great. So it was just kind of about building that team and then getting it going. So, but it was a very fun show. it was really special. So yeah.
You said you have a team in New York now as well?
Yeah, we do. We're slowly building it, but my good friend Mia, who actually I've known since high school, she works in music as well. And so she really wanted to start it up in New York. And so she's like kind of our counterpart out there, which is great.
Cool.
So for shows that I can't make, if we want to keep it going, and she can run them for me, which is great. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you touched on something really interesting, and that is that, you know, sometimes you're not going to be able to do everything, you know.
You can't be everywhere
You
at
can't
once.
be everywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
you can't be here and in New York at the same time.
No, yeah, exactly.
And you may not be able to make all the shows here, for example. So it's like, it's important to have a team. How did you go about kind of building a team here even?
It grew organically, but I think it's all about people that you trust. And honestly, it's a group of friends now, which is fantastic. Our team here is Patrick, who's on sound. He's been with us for 6 years. He was my guitarist before even that.
Wow.
So he's always been around. He's amazing.
Nice.
And then Peter, who's now our creative director and our photographer. And we met because he came to a show, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And he was like, hey, can I take some photos? And then from there, it just kind of grew, and he's been with us ever since. So it's really just about like finding those people that feel like friends, I think, too, and really you can build something special together with. And then New York, me as a friend from high school, and I trust her, and she works in music. So kind of just, all grew organically, which is really nice. And slowly continue to grow. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's another thing in terms of like building teams that, you know, some people may find daunting. Like I've heard people personally tell me, you know, finding bandmates is difficult, for example.
It can be scary,
but I feel like that's one of those things is just, you know, kind of getting out there, meeting people, and then just seeing who you vibe with. You may not vibe with everybody. You may try out one thing and it may not work. And then I feel like some people, that kind of like scares some people from kind of testing the waters more. But I feel like you just got to keep, you know.
You got to keep trying and like
talking to people.
I think it's, like honestly, like I used to be so scared of also like delegating and like giving tasks to other people. Because I think it was like my baby. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I can't like give over the social media to someone else, or I've been doing that for so many years. And I learned that actually it's such an amazing thing when you find people you can trust to just do it and give that to. And it was challenging for me at first, but you want people on your team who will really be like, hey, you're doing too much. Let me take this or this. And like, that was my real test to realize, a team is really important. Like to have more people is actually really helpful.
Yes.
So, and it just helps the brand grow even more. So finding those people that really challenge you and help you and also are your friends. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to shift gears now. So you got some songs on Spotify with tens of thousands of streams. Haunted House, upwards of 50,000. Was that, or were there any like specific strategy or anything you used to kind of help push that, or?
Not really, to be honest. That one was just, I kind of just promoted it on socials. I did work with a few people on like the marketing side, which was great. So we got a couple like blog posts and stuff like that, which was really helpful in getting people to listen to the music. But it kind of just grew over the years. The streams.
Awesome. And because you also, that was a collaboration with several other artists as well.
I've had a few collabs. So I think one of my most recent songs was a collab a couple of years ago, or I guess a year ago. It was like an EDM song. It was really fun. It's called Haunted House.
That
one was fun. So I've had a couple collabs, and then I am hoping to release some music soon. So we're working on getting that back up and running. I kind of took a hiatus for a year to like release the book, and now I'm back and missing releasing. So
all right, cool.
Yeah.
And then Fix Your Fears is another one. It has tens of thousands of streams. Was there anything with that one in particular, or is it the same kind of thing working with marketing group? Or people in marketing?
That one was also marketing. That one was with a producer who knew a lot of people also in marketing, so it was really helpful. And we kind of just grew it together. And that one was honestly one of my favorite songs we've written in general. And so it was just fun to do it together and then release it. And we work on sync together a lot, me and the producer. And so it was actually supposed to be a sync project, and then it just turned into a song to release. And then but I love performing that one live too. So that one's really fun.
Awesome. How is Sync been going?
Yeah, it's really good. That's what I've been mainly doing this year
Okay.
while I've been taking a break from releasing is writing for sync. So it's been really fun, actually. I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kinds of things you been working on?
Yeah.
Or is it all over the place? Or
we just got a placement yesterday. I mean, it's a lot of like reality TV.
yeah.
But we got a placement in Teen Mom. We were on the
awesome.
Kardashians a couple weeks ago, which was really funny.
Okay.
We were in Love is Blind, stuff like that. Yeah. So a lot of like Netflix and reality shows.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
it's fun. So I work with a couple sync companies and I do a couple sessions a month and it's really fun.
Okay.
So yeah.
Super cool. So in terms of sync, and how did you kind of go about getting started in that? And what was like your first placement, and how did that first placement happen?
What was my first placement? Gosh, I think I was like trying to remember. I want to say it was, oh gosh, what's that show? Real World Atlanta was my first sync, I think.
Okay.
I think it was. But I got into it. It's funny. I actually did not want to get into it. So this is kind of shows you that maybe you should just follow your opportunities and then you'll actually love them. But I was like, oh, I'm not going to write to like a brief. Like I can't do that. It's not like my passion, blah, blah, blah. And I was really opposed to it at first. And then I did one session actually with Kevin, who I now work with on production in general. And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is so fun. We wrote an amazing song. And I was like, oh, this is actually completely creative. It's not what you think. You're writing amazing songs still, even if it's to a brief. And briefs are kind of fun because they give you a little bit more structure, and it's almost like a little bit of a exercise, I guess, in a way. And I fell in love with it. And then I have been doing it for about 4 years now. So it was a while ago that I got into it. And then I signed with Lyric House 2 years ago, which are a sync company. And then I work also with AMG in London. So I kind of like do both of those. And it's really fun. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any tips for anybody looking to sign with a sync place like Lyric House or anybody like that?
I would say just get into more sessions. I think for me, how I even got hooked up with them is just through sessions and other people who work with them. Like Kevin worked with them and then he introduced me to them. And then, it was kind of just like a domino effect of things just kind of lining up into place. But I think, just putting yourself out there more, networking.
Yeah. Right.
Also, a lot of them will accept, like, if you just email them and want a meeting and say, hey, I would love to get more into this. I think just kind of taking that initiative and reaching out to people is really helpful as well. So, yeah. And then getting into sessions with other people who write for sync. It does help. So maybe doing that as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that just goes with, meeting people, just being out there, at the shows or the open mics or the whatever, wherever.
Yeah. Going to Saturdays.
Exactly.
Saturdays
at 7.
Just getting around. So, stuff like that is kind of, how I got into it. But it is a really fun thing to do as well. So,
I think a common theme of people who have gotten into sync is, that I've talked to on this podcast has been, I met somebody at a thing and then, at a Saturdays at 7 or at a Monday,
honestly,
or at a whatever. And then it was like, and then we wrote and then blah, blah, blah.
And then it just kind of, fell into place.
Yeah.
But it's so true,
And also I love what you said about just doing things that are presented to you, even when you may, maybe oppose them at first or may not be sure about it. I was kind of like that with hosting at first.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say I was opposed to it, but it wasn't something that I was looking for per se. And then somebody asked me to host an open mic that they wanted to do at a spot that they own. And then around the same time, Joe asked me to host a Monday.
Oh, nice.
And then, and so just like kind of around the same time this happened, I got these invitations, but it wasn't something I was necessarily looking for or planning to do, but it's been really great. And I've made a lot of friends and met a lot of people through it. And it's been really cool. And I really enjoy, when people say, I've really been wanting to play a Monday, for example, for years. Yeah. And now I've been able to play it. Thank you. And that's cool to me.
It's such a special thing.
Yeah. And so, it's been a lot of fun.
And you wouldn't know unless you tried.
Unless you're right.
And then now you're
Exactly. So, and another thing that I've kind of learning through this podcast is that, the path to success is not necessarily cut and dry. It's not a linear line even. It's not what you would always think it is, And there's different ways to get there. There's different avenues.
100%, yeah.
There's different, ways to go
There's
about
no
it.
right way. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like everyone has their own path, I think, to success. Like if you ask anyone who's made it in any field, they will always have a different answer, I feel like, which is kind of fun. So it's like you have to try kind of what feels right to you and then see what sticks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any resources that you say you've used or that you would say you have used, whether it be books, podcasts, courses, anything to help you get good at this shit, whether it be music, whether it be the book publishing thing or sync or any resources out there that you've personally used?
Yeah. I'm a big podcast girly. I will listen to podcasts all the time. I think, I would say those. I don't know if I have any that have helped me like directly with a task. I think it's more like helping my mental state in a way through what you're already going through. So I think for me, I do it in that sense. I just read an amazing book called The Let Them Theory, which is really, really good by Mel Robinson. I listen to her podcast all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
A couple, there's another one called The Defining Decade, which I think every 20-year-old should read, or even 30-year-old if they're going through trying to figure out their career. It's really helpful.
Right.
So those types of books I think I use a lot. And just figuring out, like the other one, how to win over people and influence them, I think is the name of the book. I'm saying that totally wrong, but that book's amazing.
Is that how to win friends and influence people? Is that the one you're talking about?
Thank you. I was wait, it's something like, it's been a minute since I read it.
I got you. No, all good.
But those ones, like stuff like that, I think is really beneficial because everything's about communication.
Right.
And everything's also about how your mental health is doing because you won't attract what you want in life without having a good outlook.
Yes.
So
100%.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Your mental state and like how you think about things is huge, and how you process setbacks, how you process all that is very influential, and it makes a big difference in how you proceed through life. And I also listen to a lot of podcasts, but not necessarily even ones that are about music career, which I mean, I have listened to content like that occasionally, but I more so listen to people that are just like successful, even like successful businessmen. Maybe they're talking just about sales or whatever. Yeah. Which you would think like, okay, that doesn't necessarily apply, but there are so many lessons that are that apply, across the board. I feel like good principles are good principles in no matter the whatever arena or industry you're in. Like if it if it works over here, I feel like it's going to work over here too. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
And so, seeing how they think and how they process things, like, if they've achieved a certain level of success, it's for a reason.
It's for a reason, yeah.
And just seeing, again, how they process things and how they think and how they go about their day to day can, I think, really help you. And honestly, I feel like it was around like the time when I was kind of dealing with, my dad's death and everything that I started kind of listening to these podcasts, and it honestly, it honestly helped me like a ton. Yeah. And it was therapy in a way. You know what I mean?
It is.
Like,
it's like free therapy. It's amazing.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
It was totally free therapy because it really, was like, it has a way of, when you listen to somebody successful like that who's like doing content, it kind of has a way of putting a mirror up, I guess, to where you can see, yourself, and you see kind of what they've done to become successful, and maybe where you may be lacking,
where
just
you
from just from
and
just from like a mental standpoint. Like, okay, maybe I should change how I think about this or how I operate in these situations. So
100%. Like it almost can like, for me too, it kind of helps put like a little flame under my ass. Like, okay, go. Like, look what she did. You gotta you gotta do this or that, or it kind of helps you a little bit. I don't know. I think sometimes we can get into ruts, and like, especially in the creative industry of like, I'm not doing enough, or this didn't work, so I just must not be successful, or I don't know. The mental health is a huge thing in creative industries. And I think to really listen to someone else doing something can kind of like help motivate you sometimes too.
Yeah. And I feel like just give you, new perspective or new ideas or, maybe it's like, okay, maybe when I tried this thing, maybe I didn't do this that they talk about. And you know what I mean? Like they were successful in business by doing this. And again, it's a different industry, but that basic principle, maybe if I apply that over here,
gives you a new idea
to what I was doing. Yeah. Maybe a lot of times I feel like, it's just, maybe we're just applying things the wrong way or we just don't know. Yeah. We just don't know the exact formula to do something, or we don't know the way to actually make something successful. So like maybe we were on the right track. We just didn't know it, but like sometimes listening to those people can be like, oh, okay, well maybe I should try this instead when I do that, or, And
it's like all like trial and error too. Like my dad always says failure is the key to success. And that's 100%. Like been stuck in my head since he always said it when I was growing up. And I think, you always have to try different things, and not everything's going to work, and that's okay. And that's life. And you got to just keep trying. And like, I think the podcasts do help you because you can hear different ideas, or also like different ways of dealing with mental health, different ways of dealing with certain things in life. Like everything kind of coincides with each other, I think. And to manage all that, it's helpful to have your free therapy through podcasts.
100%.
So,
and I love what you said too about it's just all trial and error, and I feel like the more times you quote unquote fail, the more you figure out if you're learning from those lessons. Once you know what doesn't work, I feel like if you do something enough times and you know what doesn't work, eventually you'll get to what works. You know what I'm saying? Like just by like pure process of elimination. You know what I mean? Like
it's so true.
You're like, damn, I tried every fucking thing.
Everything
except this one thing. Okay, maybe that'll be the thing.
Maybe try that one.
You know what I mean? So like if you try enough things,
you'll find something eventually.
Yeah,
something's gonna hit. And also
work.
I think you'll just learn more and more about yourself too, which is exciting. And like it's all just a learning experience.
That is also so key. Like just to like be constantly learning. Just
and
to
don't
keep
put so much
learning,
pressure on yourself.
Keep growing, because I feel like I think recognizing that you don't know everything and that there's always something to learn, I think is huge. Is big too.
Yeah. Because you're always, figuring things out. And like, I think you'll always figure things out. Like my grandmother said that, and she was 75. She's like, I'm still learning. Like,
absolutely.
I'm still making mistakes, but that's life. Like if you stop making mistakes and stop learning, then it's kind of boring, honestly.
There you go.
Anni,
thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks
I appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
Everybody, please check out Saturdays at 7 because it is incredible.
Thank you.
You'll have a good time, I promise.
Yeah, it's a good time.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for watching They're Good at That Shit. If you enjoyed what you heard, definitely hit that like button. Also, subscribe, because that would mean a lot to us. And if there's something in particular that you found valuable, definitely let us know in the comments. We'll catch you next time, all right?